Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being on time. We will start the session on time for those who are here. We are on the fourth session of Tug of War Inside of Me. It's a 5-part series. We're on the second last session. And without much further ado, I'll send over to Auntie Sudha.
Thank you all for making the time and lasting out till the fourth session. It means a lot. It isn't easy, because it's a whole different way of seeing relationships and seeing people and seeing human beings. And if each one could just share 1 or 2 sentences of what remains in you as of today, without seeing your notes, or what you've been practicing and understanding that struggle and the tug of war inside. Just typing out a message. Yeah. Because each one's experience would have been different. Each one would have taken away different. So collectively, we have so much to grow from each other. Yeah. Seeing the emotion, seeing behind the child's behavior. Thanks so much, Sandhya. Because the behavior is just a manifestation of the physiological internal state. Yeah.
I just joined only since last session, so I have missed the previous one. So my input is based on what I understood in the previous session, like putting your own oxygen masks by being present there for children. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Suraj here is very kind enough to do the editing of each of these clips, and they're putting it out in YouTube for whoever would be interested to catch up. That takes a lot of work behind the screens. I didn't know, I thought just copy paste. I didn't know it was not that. Suraj and his team. Thank you, Suraj. You see how much they value the whole team. And that's the pleasure of working with this group. Yeah. And then we all know about gestures, but we aren't aware that even the small gestures could hurt. And it raises our awareness. And yesterday, someone sent me a beautiful video clip on gestures. You see, in our first or second session, I had shared how metaphorical this body is and takes everything personally and goes tight. And what are we offering this body now? Anyone who enters any place, we've got a shotgun here, taking temperature. And for that body, it is like someone shooting me, and it goes straight to the pineal gland over there. And that's having a huge impact also, which people aren't aware. And someone sent me a beautiful video clip and said, Sudha, please share this information. Can we change the style of this shooting people? Because that's how the body takes it. Yeah. And those who've done this work can pick up that little depth of tightness that happens when they're doing this. And we think it is out of fear, out of what's my temperature going to be like? Do I have COVID? Hey, it's also about getting shot, metaphorically. Yeah. Gestures. And been actively tried using the breath whenever I've felt the body go tight. And it does help to slow the situation, absolutely. My breath is my best friend, Shamini. So many times I've had moments where I've managed to not slip into self-sabotage, as I call it, thanks to the breath. Yeah. Because self-sabotage feels good in that moment. And next moment we are filled with guilt and shame and the whole package that comes with it. Isn't it? Thanks. Yeah, being present when I have access to myself. Yep, we see the whole situation differently because we've got a wide angle lens, not a narrow angle lens. That gives us so much more openness and relief. Thanks for that, Sumati. Yes, silence is scary. Absolutely, and staying in silence is even more scary. And that's the whole process of support, that's child therapy, that whole process of supporting kids stay in silence and not fear silence. And requesting any parent, if, sometimes when we go anxious, instead of going explosive, we implode within and go silent outside. And that has a huge negative impact on the kid. It's torturous, the impact that has on kids. Yeah? We don't want that. When co-regulating with a child, our tone may not always be gentle or calm. Yes, authenticity may have a tone of helplessness, sadness, powerlessness, all that. Anxiety. It doesn't mean I come out like a yogi, cool and calm. I just come out with a genuine inner state, but which doesn't have any hint of manipulation. It's just genuine. It's a fine line between the two. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and if Suraj, if you could share the YouTube links on this chat group, those who are interested can copy paste it, or the details, yeah? Yeah, thanks. That not to be angry with anyone is to take care of myself and give me the compassion, isn't it? Because anger is a secondary emotion. When I can't stay in what's happening, the reaction emotion comes out. And what's really happening below angry is scary. Thanks. And if you could stay with that scary, hey, we all can speak from there to the other. And much healing happens. Thank you so much, guys. And we all look, the body is made for connection. And if connection doesn't, the body doesn't sense connection, it shifts to disconnection, lack of connection. And it's an anxious little thing rolling around after that in survival mode, feeling marginalized, isolated, all that, a lot of all that, yeah? Thanks. And I'll start screen sharing now. Our today agenda is, yeah, whatever we did on the first day, we had some examples. Let's revisit those examples and see how to interact. Thanks. Yeah, just a little recap. That autonomous nervous system, its job, it's got a whole intricate system. It's fascinating to study this body in depth. It's just looking out. It's looking into the environment. Is it safe? Is it threatening? Is it dangerous? Is it life-threatening? And accordingly, the body adjusts. Yeah? And depending on, it doesn't judge. It just adjusts to meet the needs of the interaction as it experiences the interaction. And anyone wanting to know more about this can look up Neuroception. It's like a giant radar system, giant radar system, constantly on the lookout. But what many of us don't recognize this is, if our childhoods were traumatic, or what is trauma also many of us don't understand, we think it's the norm. If it was tilting on the side of trauma, and there's something called small t traumas. I'm only sharing this for those who are more interested and look on that journey after these 2 sessions, yeah? And then that nervous system, that whole programming of this can be faulty. And that's where teachers struggle in schools. And I always say hats off, I tape them. Simply because if that kid grows up in a home where parents are loud and they are at each other, or The kid received a lot of physical stuff, a lot of loud, angry tones to control that kid into behavior. Well, that behavior happens at home because of survival needs. Where does the child release the tension? In school. We have little bullies and we have little being bullied happen. And in the classroom, that child who's spinning around the whole classroom, who can't take an instruction because home life is instruction filled, isn't it? And teachers struggle with that in the classroom. And many a teacher doesn't understand that. And those behaviors can be threatening even for teachers, isn't it? If this kid hits Billy, hits Johnny, Billy's mother will come in, Johnny's mother will come in, school principal will come in, and they've got to deal with all that. So the teachers deal with faulty neuroceptions. And the teachers tell the parents, your child needs counseling or something like that. And parents think that teacher is crazy. Yeah, and teachers struggle. I honestly respect their journeys with kids. All this, the more I understand myself, I can bring this to conscious awareness. Oh, I know that loud tones scare me. Oh, I'm scared of authority. I'm intimidated by authority. The more I learn and make friends with me, then when that happens, there can be a certain level of awareness. And I can put the pause break and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe till I can reset. Yeah? So is that this body is just with compassion, this human body, not just my head, starting from here, my gut, my heart, all those sense organs, is constantly looking out. Is that expression safe or not? And as we shared in session 2, absence of 2 or 3, absence of danger does not mean safe. We've got to create safe. Yeah? Is that tone safe or not? Is that gesture safe or not? Is there restraint? Does the other person want to understand my experience? It doesn't mean they have to understand, because we may never understand. It's just that intention, and we show that intention, I want to understand. Then I feel part of the group, not an alien or not something wrong with me. Yeah, that's all it is. And this is little kids, when they come into the world, they don't make sense of our world. And as the world is getting more posh and more digitalized and more smart, it becomes even more difficult for children. It really is. And let's see these pictures of how difficult it is to be a child. Thank God I can't remember my childhood. That 2 years, below 2.5, 3 years old. Because that memory system comes in only around 2.5 or 3 years old. You know, where autobiographical system to write down those memories that we remember. Yeah. This little kid, he doesn't understand the meaning of money. He doesn't understand the meaning of you have to pay for something before you eat it. He wants to eat it. Why can't I have it now? And boom, he goes into, Mommy doesn't want to give it to me. I'm a bad child and all that. So many distorted beliefs about himself running here, happening. And for parents, this might look so cute. But his inner world and his inner moment at that time is very distressing. can't make sense of this adult's world. Yeah. Why can't I eat the key? What's wrong? I want to put it in my mouth, and we are saying it's not hygienic. What the hell is hygienic? He doesn't understand that. It's just different behavior. Some parent documented all this and put it out, and I'm thanking them for doing this so we can get an insight into a child's world, isn't it? How crazy it gets, how difficult it gets. Hey, mommy wouldn't give him ice cream for breakfast. Why can't he have ice cream? What's wrong? Why can't he have the whole tub? Why should it be limited to one scoop? Why can't he eat it morning, afternoon, evening, and night? What is? He just doesn't get it. Why can't I climb out of the window? This is dangerous, but he doesn't understand danger. So how do we help them understand danger, isn't it? It's so tricky for us too. And to help kids, to really offer them a safe space, to nurture their being for safety. In this modality of child therapy that I practice, we are not allowed to say no or don't, and not allowed to use any restraint. And how do you say no without saying no? All that. So that behavior is not okay, little one, but you are very, very okay. And the child needs to experience that, or then he shifts. And it's a process. Hey, he didn't want the chicken, he gave it to mom, mom ate it, now he wants it back, it's disappeared. How frustrating, isn't it? Why can't I change my mind? What's wrong if I change my mind? He doesn't get it. He wanted to play outside. But when he got there, he changed his mind. Outside seemed scary. And it seemed so confusing for the parents, because they've stopped their cooking, cleaning, whatever, to be with the child, to take him outside to play, to make him happy. And they reach the door and, hey, you can't do a number on me. You've got to go outside and play now, isn't it? It does get very difficult for parents and children while that brain is creating these pathways. All these experiences, that little thing is happening, is the process of building trust, building safe. And it's very, very confusing for parents. Because I grew up in a generation, and many people say this to me, from the younger generation too, that we didn't recognize trust as built. We took trust as a given, yeah? And we gave trust, and the child gives us trust, and then we don't recognize it needs to be built. Yeah? And so when, for example here, the child might be scared by dad. Hey, he looks different. Change in structure. Change in certainty. Is this my dad? Not my dad. And you know, when they cry, sometimes when their face puckers up, it looks so cute. And the dad's looking at the kid, and it might look so cute that we are smiling at the cuteness. But the child is actually so scared. And the child could interpret my smile as sarcasm or contempt or humiliation and all that stuff. So much of mismatch happens without ever meaning to. Yeah? Why can't I sit in that big swing? Life doesn't make sense to him, yeah? It just doesn't make sense. And so how do we hold this kid and restrain him without saying no and don't? And all that. Hey, mommy won't let him play with a knife. What's wrong? What's wrong with it? I've got a crazy mommy who likes to control me all the time. And they learn, and that body learns to rebel against control. And mums and dads could learn to fear this little kid who's exploring the world, isn't it? I mean, how can the cartoons do a number on him? How can they disappear? It's absolutely not okay. They can't just disappear. What is this little child doing? He is so innocently, so authentically not ashamed of vulnerability. He is just showing us what is happening inside. He doesn't see vulnerability as a weakness, as a strength. He doesn't know the meaning of vulnerability. He is accessible to himself. Yeah? Fully accessible, and he's showing it all outside. And over life, as we grow up, then we learn, oh, I mustn't show sad because it upsets parents if I show sad. If I show sad, they say, stop it. Oh, you must be happy. You have so much to be happy about. So slowly we learn not to show. Unspokenly we learn it's yucky if I showed. And that concept of vulnerability comes in. Yeah. And this little fellow's come into the world with accessible to a full range of emotions, with zero sense of control and zero sense of options. And the journey of nurturing is to support them, giving them a sense of control and an awareness of options, while nurturing all those emotions. It's very not by being protective, it's a very different method. Yeah. He didn't like that new book and he's showing it to us. If I was 20 years ago and I received a gift like that, I might pretend to that giver of the gift how much I like that book to make her or him happy. Yeah. I would never have the courage to say, would you be okay if I went to the shop and exchanged this book? I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Yeah. And that's the journey of growth and more authentic relationships. Yeah. Hey, he wasn't allowed to play with automatic doors. I know a kid from India who came to Malaysia to visit us. And when she went to see she saw the automatic doors. She was about 7 or 8 at that time. She was so fascinated. She thought there was a genie. And she stood this side, open sesame, it opened. Close sesame, about 15, 20 minutes, she was convinced it was magic. And it was lovely watching her expression doing that, yeah, and connecting to the child in me once more, something we've just learned to take for granted as we've grown up. Yeah, why can't I eat ice cream? Why can't I eat crisps? Why can't I? Isn't it? This adult world sounds crazy. And that's that job of regulation and that desperation and frustration and helplessness parents feel. And they don't know how to stay in that and share that with the kid. Because, whoops, it comes into irritation, anger, and we try to shut down the kid very quickly. And guess what? It works. So we do more of the same. Maybe till that kid reaches puberty. And then we feel controlled by them. Yeah. He was helping mom put away the forks and spoons and now it's finished. Hey, a good moment is over. He's staying in sadness and disappointment. And that's part of our job in child therapy when that kid doesn't want to leave the room. It is getting him to stay in the sadness and disappointment of the parting. Because that's what life is about, isn't it? Experiencing that too. Not just saying, okay, you'll come again tomorrow or next week. Here's a little candy. No, we get them to be in that. So then it doesn't seem scary. They become comfortable in the whatever is arising. Hey, he went to grandma's house, and when he got there, just like playing, then he didn't want to go out and play. He didn't want to go into the house. We have a right to change our mind, isn't it? And if the adults can accept, okay, little fellow, you've changed your mind and you're here and I want to go inside and you want to be out, what shall we do? And if he can just extend that and go through that conversation, he learns negotiation skills, conflict resolution skills, with hugs and all that stuff. Yeah. And it takes a lot of patience, a lot of understanding. It's nothing about that presenting story. We are offering the kids way more than just grandma's house. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, all these situations. Why, if there's open space, why can't I run? Just because adults like to sit, why can't I run? And don't we see this in the malls? Especially in Malaysia. It's a hot country. Going to the parks are not so much of an option in the morning. So families like Sunday mornings like to be in the mall, Saturday evenings. It's air conditioned, just a lot of open space. And kids want to run. Parents are saying walk. It's so difficult. And at those moments when we are the adults with such kids in our lives, in so many tricky moments, while that brain is forming these pathways about experiences in life. Yeah, it's forming these pathways. Very, very many moments we adults need to breathe, pick up the tightness happening in our body. The child's body goes tight. Hey, our bodies go tight too. Breathing, connecting. And we are role modeling regulation to the kid. And the kid learns to do this over time, not over 1-2 breaths. When I do it regularly, without shyness, without embarrassment, they learn not to be embarrassed. They learn not to be shy. Yeah? And they learn to role model this with their friends. But the tricky part is the child might, when we're out with friends, the child might tell his friend, oh no, just a minute, my mother needs to breathe now. This happened. We've got to be ready for all those moments too, yeah? That's part of the package. And now we are just remembering this is a particular breath. There are many kinds of breath under yoga. This, I call it damage control breath, or releasing the tightness breath. Exhale longer than inhale. It's very, very important because we are literally shutting off the survival systems, the disconnection system, the lack of control systems, and gradually shifting the body to the higher and evolution system, which is the connection system. And our brain has access to the wide angle picture. That's called the higher cortical state, yeah? Not my reactionary state, but my accessible state. Yeah, because remember, just sharing this key point, whenever our systems are in defense or are in protection mode, protection means survival mode, means lack of connection mode, disconnection mode. A lot of protection comes out as defense, yeah, for the other. Means there's distancing, and the body is made for connection. So where does the energy come for this connection or protection, defense? The energy is taken from so many other systems, physical systems in the body. Digestion, respiration, immune system. I mean, all those systems, doctors know that very well. And directed to this. And so it takes a toll on the body. Yeah. So we want to have compassion and take care of ourselves. I do this for me, the kid gets the benefit, or my husband or wife gets the benefit. That's the bonus. Yeah. But I do it for me. Yeah. Whenever we observe that tightness, that irritation, that pause button, I call it the break, happens, we breathe, reset, reset, reset. And when I first started understanding this for myself, it was such a shock for me to see how many times I go tight in the day. And here I had a whole different self-concept and image of myself. And what I was seeing here and how many times I'm going tight and irritated, I'd like to say, oh shoot, couldn't, oh my God. Yeah, or whatever. It was unbelievable. And it was a deconstructing the concept of myself that I had. Oh, it was a rude awakening journey. Yeah. And instead we are saying, hey, instead of that, we stop and say, hey, I'm able to pick it up. It's a privilege, it's an honor, it's a blessing to be able to pick it up. Picking it up as tightness, picking it up as irritation, picking it up as annoyance, picking it up as going silent. There are many other ways. I'm just putting out the usual ones. Yeah. So this is a very big key point. Remember, our body, metaphorically, it goes tight. Someone points a gun here, whoops, it's gone tight. It's a metaphorical gun. The body takes it seriously. The narrative in my head is, am I getting COVID? Do I have temperature? Hey, one part of it is the gun, isn't it? Or if I'm putting out something, my partner or my friend, they come in with their own childhood programmings. And so they might react to something that I'm putting out and I'm not aware of. Yeah? So just being mindful of that. It's not all my fault. Having compassion for ourselves. Let me just go back to just a minute. Any questions at this point? Yeah? Sandhya, you've put out a question here. How is connection defined? Physical, mental, or emotional, or all three? Please do go into the YouTube clips that Suraj and team, Shamini and team have kindly put out. It's there. It's a very intricate process, yeah?
Okay, sure. Thank
you.
you.
Really give you in depth.
Yes.
It's difficult to give it in 3 minutes. Thanks for understanding.
Sure, thank you.
Any questions at this point? Before we do one really desperate breath, we learn another breath when we are desperate. Any questions? Anyone wants to share? Or any clarity? Just to make sure all of us are together, yeah? And I haven't lost anyone thinking I've been clear. It's clear? Yeah? Yeah, when we have tightness and we regulate, usually what happens when we go tight, our brain creates a narrative that has nothing to do with the reality of the situation because we can't see the full picture. And so when we do this kind of breath, depending on the issue, we may need 3 breaths or 33 breaths or 15 breaths, 10 breaths. Yeah, because each of us have our own well, our own triggers or our own times when we go tight. And so when we do that breath, we shift the state, we are more present in this existing situation. And the more present I am, the more sense I can make of it, and the closer I am to reality than just having some thoughts in my head. Thanks. I'll continue screen sharing now. This is a special kind of breath. You see, sometimes when I'm doing that woo breath, and it's just not strong enough, it's not fast enough. Now suppose I have ADHD symptoms. I'm not saying I have ADHD or I have hyperactivity symptoms, I have this symptoms, that symptoms. Hey, and we all have all these, yeah? And depending on that issue, that trigger is touched. It's touched so deep that I'm not able to regulate myself in a graceful manner. I need more support. I really need more support. I need a personal trainer in that moment. So then there is this guy, Wim Hof method, you can see on YouTube. He just has this breathing technique and he keeps speaking along with this. He's got a visual, he's got his voice, he's got all that stuff going on. And we'll do one round of it. The only tricky thing about this guy, Wim Hof, from few other participants in the various workshops I've run this, and other people, they say they find his voice kind of authoritarian. Yeah? So his voice can come across as a bit intimidating. But I'm sure he doesn't know that. That's how he grew up, and it works, and many people it's that. So I'm just going to do it. We are going to run through one round of this. And I'd like you all, those who want to follow, please do. If you're finding yourself getting lightheaded or dizzy, please stop. This really, there are many who use this if their interaction with a kid or with another adult, they're getting so heated that they're unable to shut it off. They just walk away to the bathroom or something. I need a pee break. And they're doing this breath to get themselves back in control, yeah? To regulate. And then they go back and thank themselves for not losing it at that moment. So I'm just going to start it. And those of you who'd like to follow, please do.
Hi guys, welcome. This is a guided breathing session. Relax to the deepest. Lie down, sit down, whatever it takes, relax. Are you ready? Here we go. Round number 1. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Just go with the flow of the breath. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. 5 more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And let go. All right. 30 seconds breath hold from now on. Be in this moment. Let the body do what the body is capable of doing. Be aware of your heartbeat. Slow it down and just be in this moment. Okay, recovery breath in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 2.
How was this experience for you all? Who would like to share? His voice can be intimidating, huh? Just sharing that. And if you read about him on his website and his background, well, how else can it be in the profession he worked? It needs to be like that, yeah? Thanks, Cleo, helping out. Anyone else would like to share their experience of practicing this breath? If you all followed through with him? What we are doing is, because he's talking in, out, in, out, in, out. Yep, we are forced to follow him. So we are taking our brains, taking all that from wherever the story, the narrative was in the head. We are redirecting it here, in the here and now. All that helps to, supports in its own way to come back to the present. And in that thing, he's got 3 rounds. Yep, the heart does beat faster because we're doing it like that. We're shifting that whole body state from wherever it was, yeah? Yep, that body comes alive with that. We're just deliberately making a strong effort to shift that body state and focus on that present moment, yeah? This is to reset the body. And I know few people who use this during the MCO and in the lockdown. And it really, really supported them through that period where feeling confined and trapped was just too overwhelming. And it works for some, not for others. Just try it out. To understand this, because our own childhoods, because of our own bodies, body can go tight to something totally unrelated to our significant others' behaviors. Now we both are having a conversation. Let me just take 2 people. Yeah. These 2 people are having a conversation, 2 siblings. And then this one starts shaking her legs. This one thinks, oh, she's disinterested in my conversation. Can you see how fast a wrong narrative happened? Totally unrelated to what's happening. Maybe she said something. Maybe there was some look on her face, some tone on her in her voice. Something in that word that triggered something in this one. And the body was trying to regulate and discharge that activation by shaking the leg. But hey, she didn't know, and she said, oh, look, she's so impatient when I'm talking. A classic misunderstanding, yeah? Just to be aware of that. But it would be lovely if she was aware, hey, I know I get distressed when I see leg shaking happening when I'm talking. It's lovely if she has that awareness. Then she's able to breathe and ask her, hey, something was happening when I was talking, yeah? Help me understand. rather than run with the narratives in the head. That's having compassion for myself. That's what safe looks like. It doesn't look like the meditative pose. Now let's practice this now. We had quite a few scenarios on day 1. We're going to revisit those scenarios on day 4 today. For example, we sent a WhatsApp message. I see the 2 blue ticks. Hey, no reply. And you're replying to everybody else. You usually reply. Other people say they've received the reply. I haven't yet received it. What's happening in me? Am I feeling tight? Is my body going tight, or is my body going to be beautifully expanded? Just give me a minute. I just want to... If you all can type out the answers in the meantime. Is my body going tight, or is my body being loose at that time, when I'm not receiving those responses? Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for all saying tight. So what do we want to do? We breathe, we breathe, we breathe. If I haven't really taken those breaths, what would I reply? And if I breathe, how would I reply after the breaths? For me, I know I might have said, hey, what's taking you so long to reply? But if I've regulated myself, I might come out with a response saying, hey, giving the benefit of doubt to the other person. Hey, I've sent you this message. I guess you're busy now and you've missed it. I'm waiting for your reply. I really need it in 15 minutes. Yeah. I connect to myself, and then I will reach out to connect to the other. Yep. Our body goes tight, and when we get, the tighter we get, the shorter the fuse is. Thanks so much, Puva, for talking for all of us. That fuse gets short. Depending on our personalities, we either put it out or keep it in. Yeah? Let's see another example now. We are talking to each other, and after 2 minutes, you turn away and you turn away and you're looking that side. What happens in me? From session 1, we know we'll all go tight. What's the narrative in my head? I just want, Cleo, could you help me out? What's the narrative in your head when you're tight? And if you were to do the breathing? Hey, so many others have written, thanks. I'm not important, I'm boring. How disrespectful can she be? Thanks. But if I've done, thanks all for supporting. I feel so supported. And if I've done that breath and I reset myself, what kind of response might come out from me now? Thanks, not interested in my talk. Yep. If I've done that breath and my head, I'm in a different space. Yeah. Something has distracted her. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, something has distracted her. Or something I put out is overwhelming for her. Yeah. And I would reach out to check. It's not about me. Something could be happening in her. Thanks. It doesn't always have to be all about me, isn't it? Yes. She's thinking about something else. Some other urgent thought came to her head at this moment. Could you please share with me? I too want to know. Yeah. What do babies do? It's fascinating, isn't it? When you're carrying a baby. Let me see. I'm carrying this little baby. Yeah, I'm carrying this baby. And we love to play hide and seek and peekaboo with the baby, isn't it? When we are carrying the baby here. What does that baby do? it becomes too much. It looks the other way. Have you seen babies turn their head and disconnect from the game? And then they come back. What are they doing? It's that wisdom of the body. The body is overwhelmed, the body disconnects, regulates, and then comes back to the game so cutely. We don't recognize it, yeah? We just don't recognize it, and we think they're playing hide and seek with us. And we see so much of this happening in that child therapy room. The child was playing the child was creating something. It becomes overwhelming. Whoops, the child abandons that project and moves to another medium, another project. A little later, it comes back to this project in a different way, same way. It's just fascinating to see that happen. And when we understand that in depth, we interact with others, and if there is disconnection happening, we don't get, our body will go tight, but we also understand, hey, it's not all about me. There's something else happening here. That's called self-compassion, isn't it? Kindness for ourselves. Yeah. Another scenario that we did, I walk into the room and the two siblings were together in that room, and I come in to see one has snatched the toy, one is hitting the other. What's happening in me? When I come into that room, in that minute, how tight do I get? One's pulled the toy, one's snatching. Mommy, look at her. Mommy hit him. Mommy, she hit me. All that confusion happening. And teachers see it regularly in schools, not at homes. Yeah. Extremely tight. Thank you. It's chaos, overwhelm. So, and if we talk from that overwhelmed space, for which I've been guilty of numerous times, because we came from that space of thinking, oh, it's my responsibility to sort out this chaos. And actually I create more chaos, isn't it? Not knowing I'm creating more chaos, thinking I'm supporting the situation. Absolutely not, yeah? So then what would I do first? If I enter that room and it's all chaotic, which is not limited to children. We enter the office and we see two colleagues in one heated space, in the silent treatments phase, something. We enter it and we feel that distress in that area. What do I want to do? Let's stick with two children. It's just a metaphor for any situation. Yep. How do we cut that tension? By breathing, yeah. I used to cut the tension with strong words, made even bigger mess of it. I can laugh now. I've shed a lot of tears for all the mistakes I've made, yeah, thinking I was supporting them, yeah. Yeah, I need to control them, but not them. Thanks. I need to say, hey guys, I need to breathe. One sit here, one sit there. I need to breathe. Because I tell them, let's breathe. Kids say, I don't need to breathe, you breathe, mommy. They don't want to. So we don't impose. We just say, hey guys, I need to breathe. I need to breathe. You know, and you're sitting here. And if they want to run away, no, I can't handle that chaos. Help me out. I still haven't finished breathing. What am I actually doing when I'm breathing and they see me breathing? I'm regulating their brains too. As I'm breathing at that pace, their brains too start coming down, and I'm regulating that. And then we ask the story. Yep, it's called co-regulating. Thanks, Sumati. Yeah. Lots of co-regulation happens, and it's very tricky because our brains have told us, society has told us it's our responsibility to fix it ASAP. And that's the tug of war happening in us. Yep, Puva, we are actually changing states from anxiety to slowly shifting it to one of a connecting mode, where that kid can come back into wide angle lens and see the wider perspective. It's not a logical, rational, cognitive moment. Yeah, it's beyond the scope of this days to talk about that. But it's just a moment of being kind and compassion for all of us, especially me. I take care of me, the rest falls into place. Yeah. Oh, the next one is lovely. I enter the bedroom, yeah, an example, and I see a wet towel on the bed. You know, sometimes a child, Sandhya has a question. Yeah. When my children complain of some physical discomfort, I tend to get jittery. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So how do I shift from being jittery to compassionate? Jittery means I'm anxious inside. Yeah. And all of us do get that because we wonder what's happening, where's that coming from? And so the first person I need to bring out of the jittery state is myself, because the child is jittery too. Yeah. So how do I let the child understand that a certain level of discomfort is okay? Yep, because this discomfort is very, very subjective. Yeah, it's very subjective. So we can't say discomfort is okay. How I role model staying in discomfort will help and support that child not see discomfort as a threat, as something to be scared of and frightened of. I can only role model it. I can't tell it. I can't teach it. That's the tricky part, yeah?
Yes, that's
so we've got to practice a lot of breath. And hey, little one, yeah, you're anxious, your tummy is, you've got tummy pain, you fell down, it's really hurting. I want to hear all about your pain. And as we give them a space to share and share and share, our jitteriness may grow bigger because we're not shutting it down.
right.
But also as that child shares and I accept it unconditionally without trying to minimize, dismiss it, deny it, all those games people play, we don't do all that. The child has a beautiful experience of his experience being witnessed by us. And beautifully that pain disappears sometimes, but comes down in proportion. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there was the story, I can share a lovely story at this point about a 4-year-old, and that mom is not here, and she'll be very okay with me to share the story. She's done a lot of work in this field with me. This child, she had made some muffins for breakfast. Yeah, 4.5, 5-year-old. He came and they had made it together and put chocolate chips on it while baking. He came out and he cried, and they have to go to school. He came in, saw the muffins. I don't want to go to school. I'm not going to school. I'm not going to have a bath. I'm not going to eat the muffins. I hate muffins. And then the father was going into the usual state of saying, no, you. And the mom just sat with him and said, hey, I want to hear what's happening. No, I hate muffins. And all about how much he hates the muffins. And something is happening. There is some reason you hate these muffins. Because the chocolate chips all disappeared. They're supposed to remain on the top. And she heard his disappointment and agony and sadness of the chocolate chips disappearing. And the dad was sitting on the side and watching it all. And they were amazed at how 3/4 of the muffin got eaten. And he went for his bath and he was ready for school much earlier than the norm. That's the process, yeah? Because the kid had a picture, all the muffins coming out like Mickey Mouse or something like that as he had arranged it. You come back, hey, it looks so dangerous, they've all disappeared. So many fascinating stories like that I can share. When we hear their distress, and distress is real. It's emotional and physical, because emotions and physical sensations are co-joined twins, as I call it.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sudha.
Welcome. So what happens? I enter that room and I see a wet towel on the bed. Maybe the teenager kept it there, the little kid kept it there, my husband or wife kept it there. Normally I would have gone in a rant. Yeah. Think, how can you keep this? Can't you keep it back on the rack? What would I say now if you pause to take those deep breaths? It's your need more than the other person's to have that towel in the bathroom rack. The other person has no such need. Yeah, so who has the issue here? The other person or me? Isn't it? Maybe I'm a neat freak. Maybe hey, if this is the balance, I'm off here. And of course, the partner I'll get or the kid I'll get will be here. It'll look like this to me, isn't it? Hey, the towel stays on the rack. Could you help me put up that towel? Yeah. It would come out if I pause to breathe, it would, because when we are in that green zone, in that zone of connection, we are connected to empathy, compassion, and beautifully connected to that concept of limit setting and boundaries. It doesn't happen in survival zones. Boundary setting happens as power and control and crude or rude from survival zones. And the other can't really hear me and it gets repeated. Yeah? That's why we need to breathe, so that I give myself a chance to be heard by others. Another example, I'm talking, yeah. I feel irritated when I see the towel on the rack, on the floor. Yeah? Yeah, I can say this, yeah? I would feel, and the other person might say, I don't feel irritated at all. I don't understand why you are such a neat freak. Why is towel such a big story? And then we throw away the story of the towel because it's never about the towel, and discuss our inner states with each other. And we become closer as we understand each other. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Or we would say, hey, I really need that towel on the rack. It will get mold, it will get this, it will get that. And it's not happening. How can I support you to do it? Beautiful. Yeah. We come up with, that's where we are the child is learning skills of conflict resolution, negotiation for us when we do that. Thanks, Cleo. Yeah. Oh, I call my child, or the domestic helper, or my partner 3 times, and there is no reply. Oh, what happens in me? And if you're a teacher and you call that child twice in the classroom and the child is engrossed in its own stuff, what happens in me? Just by being that human being, that body will go tight. Depending on my own childhood stuff, it will go more tight and maybe more tight. I may need more breaths. Yeah? And now, if you've done that breathing, what would you do? How would you handle that situation? Anyone want to type out messages? Yeah. Thanks, Sumatiya. That person is engrossed in something. That engrossment can be a beautiful Lego, complicated, complex structure he's building, or it could be some yuckiness, memories coming up from the past that he's not aware of. But the ability to focus is not there. Both take up a lot of different kinds of energy, but they're not present for us. Yeah? Thanks. If I'm not aware of it, my sharp tone of irritation comes out. And as we learned in session 2 or 3, we saw that the minute the other hears that tone of irritation, the whole body of the other resets to looking out to predator mode, looking out for predators. Yeah. So it really can't hear my words. I've worked against me when I've used that tone. Yeah. Hey, I've been calling you and I wonder why you are not giving me any response. Something's happening. We really need to be here. How can I help you? Something like that. But it would mean I would need to take that extra effort. I am not being disrespected. I need to remember that very much. Because our classic one is from childhood. It goes into that deep trigger of disrespect. Yeah, that's a huge, big one. We've all been trained very well in, with lots of misunderstanding, even misunderstanding the meaning of the word respect. It's not disrespect at all. A lot's happening in that human being. Oh, I'll give you another example. This was a very powerful moment. It's from the various humans who have helped me grow, yeah? And they would be very appreciative of me sharing it here. A couple, husband and wife. Let me have them here. And he would always tell her, there was so much conflict happening, and just stop shouting. You know, I'm sitting upstairs. If you want to call me, come up and talk to me. Why do you want to call me, shout at me? And she would keep saying, hey, I'm not shouting at you, I'm just calling you. And you always like to misinterpret what I say. And he would say, you never understand what I say. Why can't you just speak to me with respect? And she's saying, I'm not disrespecting you. And it would go ugly, ugly. So much misunderstanding. As we sorted that out, this was many years ago, and it's a classic one that many therapists would face in sessions. He was able to share that, she was able to share that I've cooked your favorite dish that took so long to cook. And I know you like to eat it hot, so I keep calling you. And when you don't come, for all the effort I've put, I feel so disappointed. My effort is in vain, yeah? And then he was able to share. When I hear loud voices, my hair stands on end. It all becomes prickly here. I get goosebumps. My whole body is so tight. It's like sometimes I even get nauseous. And so much he was able to share. And she said, oh my God, you never told me all this. Why didn't you? He said, I too didn't know. Because all the time, all that I was doing is when you were loud, I would respond to it, react to it. I didn't know what was happening in me. It was a beautiful connection moment in session, yeah? Then a classic one that happens. It's a classic story in every house, I think, to different degrees. And with understanding comes shift in behaviors. Yeah. You see someone. Is anyone here familiar with that look? Many of us may have grown up with that look. We received that look and we were all petrified and we behaved ourselves. We didn't need words. That look or that tone. And we all fell into space wondering, yeah, the power of that look. And on the other side of the spectrum, so many would say, oh, my guru looked at me today. And the rest of the day, they are feeling ecstatic. That's the power of that look. So never to use eye contact in any other way than affectionately. Because, hey, we're literally looking at each other and being visible to each other, yeah? And very many of us grew up with that and may have used it to discipline kids. Yeah, the parents say, oh, I never scold my kids, I never raise my voice. I ask them, how did you manage? Oh, I just use that look, that tone, silent treatment, and it works. Much more scary and dangerous. Yeah, the damage done by that is enormous. And so suppose I'm seeing someone and we are talking to each other, and for some reason, my own body, yeah, I respect my body and my body has its own level of trauma, my own level of triggers that whatever has happened, isn't it? For each of us, we have that without exception. So if I know my trigger points, my hot spots, my sensitive spots, so when I see that look, that person is just actually thinking hard, really thinking hard. And I see it as not interested in me or giving me that look. Yeah, so much misunderstanding happens if I'm not aware of that. I can share another story at this point. Just to understand, it's such mundane stuff and it's so deep. This young couple, they are friends of mine for years. And they were courting each other. They went out on Valentine's Day. And what do you learn? That's the way you show love, isn't it? He had bought the perfect rose, perfect restaurant, that wine glass, and whatever, all that show done. She had bought a special dress, got and done her fingers and toes, the nails all done up, that dress and the hair, done her hair. And they went to this restaurant. And dimly lit, meeting all the needs of Valentine's Day as advertised by the people. Yeah. And then she asked that crucial question, how do I look? And for him, he's never dated before. This was his first date. He doesn't have practice in such sentences. And what to say to her, it took him a while to reflect. He was really reflecting, how do I answer this question rightly? He was so busy trying to get it right in his head. So it took a while. And before she knew it and he knew it, suddenly she went into a space of, oh, if you don't want to tell me, you don't need to, I'm leaving. And she walked out of the restaurant, not even knowing what she said. And she also didn't know what the hell had happened. Yeah. And next day they met me. And as we sat, and I always work backwards. We were breaking down the interactions before. What happened? What happened? What happened? We came to understand that when he was in silence, what happened in you, my dear? She associates silence with terror. She grew up with a lot of silent treatment. Her body went into such great anxiety, and that he really doesn't want to say how I look. He's going to give me all the wrong lines and I'm not good enough, all that stuff, yeah? And wow, it became really ugly. And then them learning about their triggers and doing their own work and shifting that gave her a huge sense of control. So it's just learning about ourselves, yeah, that offers that sense of control. And some want to do deeper work and find a therapist to do that work. That look, that tone is so important. We understand how it impacts us. And beautiful conversations can happen around that. It doesn't mean the other person has to take care of me because I am sensitive to tone. I've got to take care of me because the whole world cannot take care of my triggers, isn't it? I'm going to be living pretty miserably if I expect the world to take care of me. I learn about me and ask for support if I find myself in such situations. Yeah. Any questions at this point? Or have I been clear? Thanks. Again, another small situation here. Very small situation, which happens every day, commonplace. The child has been given some work. And you go into that room half an hour later. The child is still sitting on that table. It should have taken the child 3 minutes to do it, maximum 5. Give him grace 10 minutes. And now, half an hour's gone by, the little fellow hasn't moved from the table and the work isn't done. A common misconception is, who would like to write down the answer? We see the child do that, and what do we think in our heads? I enter the room, my body is gone tight. And what's the narrative running in my head at that moment? He's lazy, wasting your time. Can few others give me the narratives running in your heads, please? Thanks, Cleo and Sumati, for supporting. We see that child sitting on the table, scribbling, drawing. Yeah, wasting your time, daydreaming. What else? We've all had experienced this with other children, or this has happened to us. These are universal existential examples. Whichever country we come from. Yeah? Why does it take you so long to complete your work? He's playing with it. He's procrastinating. Lazy fellow. You're doing it to test me, isn't it? You're being so lazy to test me. You know, you're out to get my gut and ruin my day today. We have so many narratives running in our head when that body goes tight. Other kids can do it. Better still, you did it yesterday. Why are you taking so long today? You're testing my patience. Thanks so much. What actually is, how can you get good results? Yeah, I know you can do it. Why are you trying to prove me wrong? Oh, this is what are those narratives in the head when the body goes tight. Yeah, some of the narratives. What is actually happening? For some reason, the child sat in front of that homework. The homework and seeing that homework is a big threat for the child. That homework is bringing up numerous past memories without the child's conscious awareness of him being evaluated, found super short on the markers of evaluation or found very high on the markers of evaluation? And can I meet those standards again? That three miserable sums becomes like a giant monster sitting there, putting this guy into anxiety, fear, disconnection, paralysis, and unable to do it. And if you ask him why he hasn't done it, for the life of him, he can't give you the answer, because he doesn't know this is, he or she doesn't know this is happening inside of him. Isn't that sad? It's so misunderstood, so misunderstood. And when they bring in this little child for sessions, a lot more has happened. And this child has come to believe, I'm lazy, I'm useless, I'm bad, I'm A, B, C, D, E, F, G, everything suggesting lack. When it wasn't lack, it was just, he was just a sensitive little child, overwhelmed by the amount of evaluation happening to him in that body, yeah? And the body goes into freeze, procrastinate, what we call procrastinate. There was no procrastination happening. That little kid is doing his very, very, very best and not able to do it. That's that tug of war within. He's lost that tug of war within. Gets shifted. He tries to do it, he can't do it. And when it's not a little kid, when they are teens, and we understand this together and they share that internal state, sometimes they request me to talk to their parents to help. Maybe you're an older woman, Sudha, my parents will understand if you tell them they don't get it. They don't get it that I want to do it, but I'm not able to do it. I don't even know why. Yeah? I really don't know why. Help me out. And then when I play video games, I find myself back in the zone. Then I can go and sit in it. And I can do 2 paragraphs before I go back into that state of paralysis. And I help parents to understand that. Yeah? Because when they play that video game, it's not about the video game. It's doing something that is in a zone of comfort where no evaluation is happening. So they're able to go back to that green zone. And that helps them come back to doing this homework. Yeah, that's how it is, shifting the states. And so to co-regulate, yeah. And this is another example. Yesterday, the child had a fun time with friends. And today he's telling me, I have no friends, nobody likes me. A classic one. What happens in us when we hear that statement? Yeah. We are deep in our adult brains and we go into, yes, confusion, massive disbelief. I mean, how can he say that? You started that song again. Yep. We go into all this space. But yeah, that kid is feeling totally, the adult is feeling totally inadequate, unable to understand this kid. And we hear the child as making a whole bunch of excuses, isn't it? That's what happens. And we go, what kind of sentences come out from our mouths at that juncture? If I haven't paused to breathe. Hey, yesterday you had so many friends. Why are you saying this today? How can it be true? I go into feeling threatened, isn't it? Hey, yesterday I spent so much time organizing that play date for you. And you're totally forgotten that and you're singing that whiny song again. Yeah, we go into a space of saying all this. But now that we know different, we understand that something was, we hear that sentence, we go tight. We want to breathe, to release that tightness and come back into this space. And then ask the child, hey, something's happening. And you believe in this moment that you have no friends. What's happening, little one? Yeah, what's happening? Something was happening. And for some reason, you believe you have no friends. I want to hear what happened. And as we stay with, I don't know, I have no friends. But as we stay with that little kid, just a minute. I have no friends, and we stay in his desolation of having no friends. We are staying with him in his discomforting experience that automatically he has received friendship from me. That shape, the body shift state. Yeah, he was so kind and gracious enough to share his state without any vulnerability or fear. Ask someone who's past puberty, would they even have the courage to say that statement? Absolutely not. It's losing face big time, full of shame to share that, isn't it? How much courage it takes for a kid to share that state. We are privileged when they can share that and we stay with them. How many adults can say that? Nope, isn't it? And so we learn from kids and we stay with them in that state shifts. The next moment they are calling their friends or talking about their friends, it shifts. It's fascinating to watch that shift happen. Yeah, it's just the body in flux and it receives what it needs when it's in that state, it shifts to the state. And so what were we doing? We were co-regulating with my breath, with my interactions. Yeah. And so we are just reminding ourselves, I'm just going to screen share. Yeah. I'm just, as we are coming to the end for today, just a minute. Yeah. Let me screen share now. Yeah. When we do not pick up that initial tightness or irritation or annoyance, yeah, our brain creates a narrative of being hurt with intentionality. That's the tricky part. Yeah. And this is Stephen Porges's words, not Sudha's. It becomes an extraordinarily dangerous situation as we flip because that physiological state has shifted and we are feeling threatened. We become pretty dangerous for people around us. Yeah. Disconnection can happen. As we see that tightness happening, when I'm not aware of what's happening in me and I've gone into the orange zone, I'm talking from there, I become scary for the other person, isn't it? And then their body also shifts. Whoops, it's a whole downward cycle after that. We call it one of shame and blame. Yeah. And it might feel very good in that moment for all of us. Been there, done that, all of us. I can talk for myself. Yeah. Next moment is one filled with guilt and shame and sadness and disappointment and helplessness and hopelessness and all that, isn't it? After that moment. And we've all been there. We're humans, yeah, and some of us pick it up or don't. So how do we get out of these cycles? Is being able to pick up that tightness or irritation or silence and not controlling it as society has taught us to control, rather regulating. And it's not just once in a way, it doesn't work. I need to be my own best friend, and it's a continuous process. And many a time I slip. And maybe I catch it once in a day, twice in a day. But over time, we slip less. We are never, ever looking for perfection, simply because it doesn't exist. Okay, as I say it. And I've seen too many perfection chasers with a lot of pain. Yeah. Why? Because each time I mess up, I screw up, I slip, I fall. It's a beautiful opportunity to role model apology. And we will cover this in our last session. Yeah? Yeah, this is just ending. We get a sense of control over what is happening when I pick up that tightness. And I learn to respect my attributes and respect my limitations. Yes, a limitation isn't to be feared. I'm just in touch with this body. And no thanks or thanks to my childhood, each of us, or our childhoods, each of us have our own strengths and own limitations. Yeah, making friends with both to gain a sense of control. Yeah. And as we are ending this screen sharing for today, let's just, what did each one receive or get from this session to help me understand? Yeah, what did each of you all get? Just typing it out here. Or if there were any questions that you had, just write them down, because next week is just a last session. It's a lot of space for questions and a little bit for understanding apology. Yeah, when we take steps to regulate, going back to the situation sometimes triggers back to the tightness, and sometimes even more. Yep. Thanks. How do we manage this? You're absolutely right. When we go back, we are, before I can even go back to the situation, I first need to regulate. Regulate, 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 and come out of it. Yeah? Because without regulation enough, I go back. Sometimes it takes me 3 hours, only next day. Teenagers are so beautifully aware as we do this work. They say, Sudha, I go back next day, not that day. Because if I go back the same day, I go back into still wanting to shout at my parents, or I can't see the wide angle picture. Next day, as I look back, I can own my own shit, as they say. And I'm okay to apologize for my part of it, not the whole interaction, which is beautiful. It takes a while, yeah? Sometimes immediately it doesn't happen. Yeah. Thanks, Sumati. A key point is I'm not being disrespected. The child is struggling as much as I'm struggling, maybe more, because they do not have resources to all these workshops, yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Really working on regulating that chaos inside us before I can handle this chaos outside. That, and being connected to myself, resetting my body is not easy. It sounds easy as I'm talking it here. And those who have practiced know it's a journey. It's not a one-off situation. Yeah, it's a lot of practice. A lot of practice and a lot of curiosity to understand what the hell was it that triggered me, that set me off. I want to make friends with me. Yeah? Self-regulation. Thanks. Being aware of what we are doing. Yep. Yeah. Imploding or exploding, both are equally. Because when I implode, the child can see the implosion on my face. I think he can't pick it up. You go back to session 1, 2, 3, you'll see that they can see the implosion. So I work to regulate and not to control. Yeah. Thanks, Puva, for coming in and learning. And thanks, Cleo. Thanks, Vincent. Yeah. It's not simple. Yeah. Yeah. Because many people think it's a virtue if I don't explode. Thanks, Sandhya, for bringing this up. And I think I stressed a lot on it in the last session. Because explosion is bad. I'm keeping it in. I'm good. And the world sees us, may see us as virtuous and patient. But that process of swallowing it in and sucking it in and keeping it in, my expression betrays me. That flat expression is 100 times more scary than explosions. And the world doesn't recognize this. And that's one of the reasons I run these workshops, yeah, to bring about awareness. We see that as a virtue, that flat face, that flat tone. The people interacting with us, those little bodies interacting with us, go into a deeper level of fear. Yeah. We think it's a virtue, it's locked down, it doesn't work. My face betrays me, my tone betrays me. It isn't a virtue. Yeah. Thanks, Shima. Thanks all, and we'll meet next week again for our last session. A little bit about apology and the rest of the session focused on questions. Thanks all. We end here. Thank you. Bye-bye.